Canto 22. Mock heroic opening. Champolo caught. Interrogated. Escapes. The Pilgrim and Virgil escape. I have seen knights setting forth, beginning assaults and standing muster, and sometimes retreating to save themselves. I have seen mounted men coursing your city, O Aretines. I have seen foragers riding, tournaments striking, and jousts running, sometimes with trumpets, sometimes with bells, with drums or signals from the tower, with things both our own and foreign. But never at so strange a pipe have I seen horsemen or foot soldiers setting forth, nor a ship at a sign from land or star. We were walking with the 10 demons, all fierce company, but in church with the saints, in the tavern with the gluttons. My attention was all given to the pitch, to see every condition of the moat and of the people burned in it, as dolphins do when they signal to sailors, arching their spines, to take measures to save their ship. So from time to time, to lessen the pain, a sinner would show his back and hide it in less than a flash. And as at the edge of a ditch the bullfrogs sit, with only their snouts showing, hiding their feet and thick bodies, so on every side did the sinners, but as Curlybeard came near, like frogs they withdrew into the boiling. I saw one wait, and my heart still makes me shudder at it, as sometimes one frog stays while the other jumps. And Scratching Dog, who was closest, hooked his grapple in his pitchy locks and drew him up, so that he seemed to me like an otter. I had learned all their names. They made such an impression on me when they were chosen, and when they called to each other, "Oh, Ruby Face, see that you get your nails in him and tear his skin off!" All those cursed ones were shouting at once. And I, "My master, see if you can discover who this wretch is who has come into the hands of his enemies." My master stood alongside him. He asked him where he was from, and he replied, "I was born in the kingdom of Navarre. My mother placed me in the service of a lord. She had generated me by a wastrel, destroyer of his wealth and of himself. Then I was in the household of good King Thibaut, and there I took to barratry, for which I square accounts in this heat. And Big Pig, from whose mouth on each side came a tusk like a boar's, let him feel how one of them could rip. Among bad cats had the mouse arrived, but Curlybeard enclosed him with his arms and said, 'Stay over there while I have him gripped.' Then he turned his face toward my master. 'Ask again,' he said, 'if you want to know more from him before someone does him in.' My leader, therefore, 'Now say, among the other sinners under the pitch, do you know any who is Italian?' And he, 'I left one a moment ago, who was from near there. Would I were still hidden with him, I'd not fear claw or crook.' And Love Knot said, 'We've been patient too long,' and he hooked one arm with his pruning knife and pulled, tearing out a muscle. Little Big Dragon, too, wanted to hook him below, at the legs, at which their decurion whirled about with an evil look. When they had quieted down a little, without delay my master asked the soul, who was still gazing at his wound, 'Who was he you say you should not have left for the shore?' And he replied, 'It was brother Gomita, the one from Galura, vessel of every fraud, who had his master's enemies in his hand, and treated them so that each is thankful to him. He took their money and let them go scot-free, as he tells it, and in his other duties too he was not a small barrator, but a champion. Master Michel Zanche of Logodoro keeps company with him, and their tongues never tire of speaking about Sardinia. Oh me, look at this other one snarling. I would say more, but I'm afraid he's getting ready to scratch my scurf.' And the great officer, turning to Butterfly, whose eyes were bulging to strike, said, 'Get over there, wicked bird.' If you want to see or hear, the terrified wretch began again, 'Tuscans or Lombards, I can make them come, but let the evil claws stand a little apart, so they won't be frightened of their cruelty. And I, sitting right here, for one that I am, will make 7 come when I whistle, as is our custom to do when one of us is a lookout.' At that evil dog lifted his snout, shaking his head, and said, 'Listen to the trick he's thought of, so he can jump back in.' Therefore he, who had a great wealth of snares, replied, I am really very tricky if I procure more suffering for my own kind. Harlequin could not hold back, and, against the others, told him, If you go down, I won't come after you at a gallop, but beating my wings above the pitch, let's leave the ridge and hide behind the bank, and we'll see if all by yourself you can outdo us. O you who read, you will hear strange sport. Each of them turned his eye toward the other bank, and he first who had been most unwilling. The Navarrese chose his moment well, planted his feet on the ground, and in one point jumped and escaped their design. For that each felt the stab of guilt, but most of all he who had caused the fault. So he moved, crying, You're caught! But it did no good, for his wings could not outspeed the other's fear. The shade dove under, and he strained his breast to fly back up. Not otherwise does the duck suddenly disappear when the falcon approaches, and he goes back up, angry and ruffled. Tramplefrost, angered by the trick, was flying just behind him, hoping the soul would escape, eager to have a scrap. And when the barrator had disappeared, he turned his talons against his fellow and grappled with him above the ditch. But the other was a full-grown hawk to grapple him, and both of them fell into the boiling pool. The heat was a quick ungrappler, but not for that could they come forth. They had so enlimed their wings. Curlybeard, grieving with his fellows, sent forth, flying to the inner bank with their hooks, and quickly enough. On this side and on that, they flew to their posts. They held out their hooks toward the viscous ones, who were already cooked within their crusts, and we left them thus entangled.